You, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear.
That you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of your ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Vice President Johnson, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Harris, you have also been quite critical of Vice President Biden's policies on race, specifically on the issue of busing in the 1970s, having benefited from busing when you were a young child. Vice President Biden says that your current position on busing, you're opposed to federally mandated busing, that position is the same as his position. Is he right?
That is simply false. And let's be very clear about this. When Vice President Biden was in the United States Senate working with segregationists to oppose busing, which was the vehicle by which we would integrate America's public schools, had I been in the United States Senate at that time, I would have been completely on the other side of the aisle. And let's be clear about this. Had those segregationists their way, I would not be a member of the United States Senate, Cory Booker would not be a member of the United States Senate, and Barack Obama would not have been in a position to nominate him to the title he now holds. And so on that issue, we could not be more apart, which is that the Vice President has still failed to acknowledge that it was wrong to take the position that he took at that time. Now, I would like to also talk about this conversation about Eric Garner, because I, too, met with his mother. And one of the things that we've got to be clear about is that this President of the United States, Donald Trump, while he has been in office, has quietly been allowing the United States Department of Justice to shut down consent decrees, to stop pattern and practice investigations. On that case, we also know that the Civil Rights Division, this is important, the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice said charges should have been filed, but this United States Department of Justice usurped, and I believe it is because that president did not want those charges to go forward, and they overrode a decision by the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice. Under my administration, the Civil Rights Division will reign, and there will be independent investigations.
Vice President Biden, I want to give you a chance to respond to what Senator Harris just said.
When Senator Harris was the Attorney General for 8 years in the state of California, there were two of the most segregated school districts in the country, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. And she did not, I didn't see a single solitary time she brought a case against them to desegregate them. Secondly, she also was in a situation where she had a police department when she was there that in fact was abusing people's rights. And the fact was that she, in fact, was told by her own people, that her own staff, that she should do something about and disclose to defense attorneys like me that you, in fact, have been, the police officer did something that did not give you information that would exculpate your client. She didn't do that. She never did it. And so what happened? Along came a federal judge and said, enough, enough, and he freed 1,000 of these people. If you doubt me, Google 1,000 prisoners freed.
One of the first in the nation initiatives around re-entering former offenders and getting them jobs and counseling. I did the work as Attorney General of putting body cameras on special agents in the state of California, and I'm proud of that work.
I want to bring in Congresswoman Gabbard. Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response, ma'am?
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered
in a million years, I would have thought that they were going to charge me for Sales murder. I never talked to no detective, no police officer, no DA, nobody.
Just arrested and then charged?
Arrested and charged, that's it.
Was the first time you saw Kamala Harris in person the day that the verdict was issued?
She showed up at the two most pivotal times in this first trial, and me being convicted and me being sentenced. She wanted to be present for a celebration of a conviction.
That's what it felt like, a celebration?
A celebration, that's what it felt like. The reactions I get when I tell people my story is, they say it's the worst nightmare. You know, it's the closest thing to dying.
Jamal, I'm going to read you a quote real quick. The job of a progressive prosecutor is to look out for those overlooked, to speak up for those whose voices aren't being heard, to see and address the causes of crime, not just their consequences, and to shine a light on the inequality and unfairness that lead to injustice. It is to recognize that not everyone needs punishment, that what many need, quite obviously, is help. Kamala Harris wrote that in her book, The Truths We Hold. Does that sound consistent with the kind of with the brand of justice that you saw administered by offices that she was running?
It definitely sounds like Kamala Harris right now as a senator, but at the time of her being the head district attorney of San Francisco, that is almost polar opposite of what I felt and what our community felt in San Francisco.
So Jamal, where are we?
Right now, we are in Sunnydale Projects, where I was born and raised at. This isn't a place that you'll want to bring outsiders into, and a place that they don't want to go. This ain't a place that feels comfortable. It feels like you might get robbed, you might get shot.
The police were keeping files on you, and your brothers, and other people who were living in Sunnydale from a very young age.
They already had me labeled because I'm in this community as a potential gang member, potential killer, potential drug dealer. You gotta wake up to the fact that, you know, things are set up against us.
There is a conspiracy.
Yes.
It happened to you.
Exactly. There is
proven in court.
Absolutely. Places like this have been developed for predominantly African-American people to not be able to succeed beyond it.
Yeah. What did you know about Kamala Harris? What did you know about San Francisco having a black DA?
Nobody in the hood ever worried or focused on the DA position in general, but people did focus on it just a tad bit, that it was black, and feeling like, okay, this black lady in office, Kamala Harris, she was gonna understand where we come from, you know, and have more of a sympathetic way of prosecuting people that come from our communities who have been plagued with no opportunities. This is Hunter's Point, where these different projects and communities used to really war with each other.
Jamal, in July 2007, what's going on in your life at that point?
I had recently just came off of I Love New York, and also that's when my friend Sel Kuka got killed.
More than a year goes by, and no one's been arrested in the case. You hadn't even been questioned.
Haven't even been questioned, no. The police was still, trying to get a conviction by all means necessary. When I was arrested for it, the community knew I didn't do it. And it was here we go again. See, this is why we don't trust, law enforcement, because it gets to a point where somebody who didn't do something goes to jail for it. I don't have no history of crime. What's up, boy? I have a history of being around in the community, but that doesn't mean that I'm a suspect. I'm like, oh man, I'll be out within 72 hours. They're gonna figure this out. They're gonna clear this up.
And then when you found out what the evidence was that they supposedly had you on, there wasn't much there. Can you describe what it was?
They had a woman saying that she seen me kill Sel. The second witness that they had really wasn't a witness at all. She said anything that the police officers wanted her to say, and they said that her recollection of the events was extremely credible. So that's what ultimately got the arrest warrant.
The District Attorney of San Francisco, Kamala Harris, appeared in the courtroom during your trial twice.
Yeah, the two times that Kamala Harris showed up to my trial was when I got convicted, and also when they laid down the sentencing.
When you saw her on the day that the verdict was handed down, did you take that as a bad sign?
It felt to me that she was well aware about my case, and she was there to set her presence, almost take pride in getting a conviction. When I put in my appeal, the people that's fighting against my appeal to keep the conviction is the Attorney General office. I learned it reading, their reply to my appeal, and you see Kamala Harris' name at the bottom. And now it's starting to feel a little personal.
When you win the $13.1 million, it's a massive settlement. Did you feel like that was enough?
There's not an amount that could get back those 7 years. That 6.5 years that I spent in prison. But instead of me coming home feeling like I was a victim, I wanted to prove that I'm a survivor, and I will not let my story go unheard. I'm not necessarily saying I'm looking for an apology, but some acknowledgement from her that she could have messed up would be, of course, that'd be huge. You could have made some mistakes. You could have missed some things. For me, it was a big miss. I had life in prison. I've met people in prison that was wrongfully convicted. I want my story to be out to provoke reform, ultimately. Beyond that, I want to be able to be who I want to be. I'm an actor, I'm a musician, I'm a father. I'm more than this person that was framed. I'm more than this person that was wrongfully convicted.
Here is the moment, right? Everybody's talking about. So here's when Tulsi laid the smackdown on Kamala. The thing that's amazing to me is that Kamala Harris was not ready for this moment at all. You didn't know this was coming at all? You didn't know this was coming? Okay, here we go.
You know what? I like to think of this as political porn.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
All right, here we go.
State of California, and I'm proud of that work.
I want to bring in Congresswoman Gabbard. Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with...
By the way, just the choice of clothing. You know Kamala Harris was like, can you believe she's fucking wearing white? Kamala Harris looks like she's dressed like an undertaker. And then she's got to go up against a virgin pure Hawaiian. Are you shitting me? It's like, why didn't she just ride in on a white horse, you know?
California, and I'm proud of that work.
I want to bring in Congresswoman Gabbard. Congresswoman
It's like Batman is coming to fuck you up. That's what it looks like to me. All right, here we go. I'm biased.
You took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
My response is I'm going to ignore your bullshit framing. And I'm going to talk about something that actually matters because I'm a fucking major in the Army. I don't take shit from a motherfucker like you, Jake Tapper.
Bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Yeah.
She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris.
This is when everybody in America got to find out that Kamala Harris has a glass jaw.
How far around the bend have we gone that we've gone from gang rape and chortling, like his Kuzey Hussein, to do you partake in a Schlitz on a Tuesday? What's cheap wing day?
Your Honor.
Rape! I think what they're doing with Brett Kavanaugh is flat out evil.
Yep.
Let me
Yes.
ask you this, has it changed your perspective at all? I think we're beyond the idea of fringe or civil disagreement. I think falsely accusing someone of rape with no evidence whatsoever is flat out evil, and they know better. Let me give you some context here. For those who haven't been following this week, the New York Times dropped another bombshell that, of course, caused Democrats to call for Brett Kavanaugh's impeachment.
Yesterday, Democratic candidates called for Kavanaugh's impeachment. Senator Elizabeth Warren said the nomination was, quote, rammed through the Senate. And former Vice President Joe Biden asked whether the FBI was pressured to ignore evidence.
Whatever.
So we have to get all of that information out there for the House to make a decision on impeachment.
Kamala Harris, who serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee, tweeting, he was put on the court through a sham process. And his place on the court is an insult to the pursuit of truth and justice.
And the new bombshells, by the way, are stories that have been reported by people who can't remember the incident, who weren't necessarily even there, not corroborated by the people who were the victims of the incident. So bombshells, pretty much like this.
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, my best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard from a reporter who found an old classmate who knew this girl, who knew this guy, who saw someone put Kavanaugh's dick in a drunk girl's hand last night. I guess it's pretty serious.
Thank you, Maddie.
No problem whatsoever.
All right, so before we move on to the new accusations in detail, let me recap some of the previous accusations, lest you forget.
It's important to go back.
Also, I was looking for a reason to use the word lest. Christine Blasey
Lest you pull a Christine Blasey Ford.
There you go.
Lest
See? That's a memory
truly
trigger.
vexeth me.
That's what we
That's my
call
word.
in the literary culture foreshadowing. You know what I'm talking
Boom,
about, audio
boom,
weight.
boom.
Pompous prick. Christine Blasey Ford.
Not quarter black. He doesn't know.
Okay. Her four witnesses. Let me go here. Her four witnesses all denied knowledge of the party where she claimed to have been assaulted. Ford herself, she couldn't recall the place or even the year that it occurred. Recently, a supporter of Ford, the main supporter, is now questioning her story. Right? This comes, Leland Kaser told authors of a new book that she didn't recollect certain facts and that Ford's accusation just didn't make any sense. And so before we move on to the newest accusations, we want to create a timeline that you understand here in the top 4 reasons it's bullcrap. I would actually like to apologize for this ill-timed and looking back in poor taste joke. Let me recap this for you. Ford accused Kavanaugh of attempted rape in a letter to Dianne Feinstein that Feinstein didn't mention until after the hearings. Feinstein said Tuesday she can't vouch for everything, whether it's true or not. Ford doesn't remember exactly when it happened or where it happened. Her story contradicts the therapist. The attorney's story contradicts Ford's. An attorney that originally said Ford would testify is now, I think, saying that she's not going to testify, was put in retainer on August, at which point she took a lie detector test for an accusation she claims she was never going to make publicly at all. Should be noted, investigators are saying that there is still the noted possibility of Ford being a dirty lying whore. This is the investigators. In light of recent evidence and the corroborating witnesses becoming non-corroborative witnesses. I don't know if non-corroborative, if that's a term. I don't even know, because usually the corroborating witnesses don't just do an about-face. In light of recent evidence, I should have clarified, she's potentially an aspiring lying, filthy whore. Now,
good clarification.
Kavanaugh's, according to the authorities, not me, take it up with your local PD. Kavanaugh's other accuser, Deborah Ramirez, initially told Ronan Farrow that she didn't have any, I want to read the quote, any stories about Brett Kavanaugh and sexual misconduct, only to accuse him later. Even after the media outlets contacted 75 classmates, no one was able to confirm the report. So, this recent New York Times article, for people who have been following, claimed 7 people corroborated her claim. We'll get back to that. Remember Julie Swetnick? A lot of people don't remember this. They think of Christine Blasey Ford. She was the one who came forward, her lawyer, by the way, Avenatti, that developed afterward, in case you forget.
Totally trustworthy guy.
At the time, Julie Swetnick comes forward and says, Brett Kavanaugh ran a train on me and gang raped me. Remember, she said, while cocking his head back and laughing. What is he, Claw from Inspector Gadget? I will gang rape you.
Oh, man.
I hope I get SCOTUS. What is this? Avenatti was her lawyer. She accused him of gang rape. He was questioned about that before the committee. Turns out none of it was true. She just happened to see him hand out red Solo cups. On to the latest bombshell in the problems. Okay,
that's
problem number
the same thing.
1. Pretty much.
Basically,
Red Solo cup.
Red Solo, you're a jerk.
And gang rape.
And
I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's the first problem. Conflation of these claims, okay? The article that came out from New York Times, it brings out the old claim from Ramirez, right? That Kavanaugh stuck his penis allegedly in her face, and then it conflates it with a new similar claim that Kavanaugh had his penis out, someone grabbed it and shoved it in the face of a different woman. The Times article claims 7 people corroborated the claim as I talked. Turns out that's completely bogus. It's not even close. None of them were there. It's all third hand. It comes down to something just happened at a party. That's it. There was nothing even more specific. Remember, even after interviewing 75 classmates, the media couldn't find a single witness, not one, to recall
you think
the
there'd be
Ramirez
one?
incident.
At least one.
You'd think there would be one. And the point is here, this muddies the water when you add another almost identical, completely unsubstantiated claim. This is my job, and I can't keep track of that. I go, hold on a second. One story came forward where Brett Kavanaugh put his penis in somebody's face, and then the other one, a guy committed sexual assault and grabbed Brett Kavanaugh's penis and put it in somebody else's face. First off, this is a very bizarre fetish.
It's confusing, It's
like, hey, would you just put my donager in this person's face? Is that it? I'm just going to stop right there. But when I go home, I'm going to be thinking about it.
Right, baby.
By the way, hit the notification bell if you haven't already. Subscribe, of course. Subscriptions don't mean a whole lot. Join Mug Club, louderwithcreditor.com/mugclub, because notifications might not even work anymore. Half the time they don't work. I don't care. Here's another problem. This is something people don't talk about. The accuser, is a Clinton, and I use this term I'm being careful in choosing my words. Operative, a Clinton operative. Is it Max Stier or Max Stier? Do we know? I've only ever read the name.
Yeah, I've only read it.
Don't hold me to
Max
it.
Steele.
It's a stupid name.
Max Steele.
Now, the man he accused Kavanaugh, right? He's described by the New York Times as, I want to read the quote. This is how they described him. a man who runs a non-profit organization in Washington.
Oh, come on.
Well, that seems positively benign.
Yeah.
No, he's a Clinton lawyer. He was a lawyer for the Clintons. Specifically, mind you, that would be bad enough. Like, you'd think conflict of interest.
Right.
No, he was a Clinton lawyer with an axe to grind, specifically with Brett Kavanaugh due to their history. Kavanaugh worked on Ken Starr's investigation into Bill Clinton, while Max was still one of Clinton's defense attorneys.
Ooh.
Problem number 3.
Done with this guy.
Kavanaugh, by the way, this is something they've been talking about. They said, well, the investigators were made aware. We know that the FBI, the investigation was a sham. We've heard this a lot, right? They claim that the FBI was made aware of the investigation. They ignored it. Now, here's the thing. I read that at first. I think we all read it.
Right.
And if it were true, would be pretty bad. Now, here's the thing. No, it never happened. They didn't send the info to those in charge of the Kavanaugh investigation. Here's what happened. A senator just notified a member of the FBI who was not in charge of the investigation. It'd be like me saying my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, complained to Susan Wojcicki, and he complained to someone who offered you mints at the Google headquarters bathroom in Chelsea. None of the details matter. Why? Because here's the main problem. The victim denies that the assault actually occurred.
She doesn't know what she's saying.
She denies having any memory of this supposed assault.
Right.
So that's right. The anti-Kavanaugh Clinton lawyer insists that someone else grabbed Kavanaugh's penis, which again would be sexual assault, thrust it into a woman's face. The face in question, however, denies that it happened. Seems to me, follow me here, if someone, if a complete and total stranger thrust their pecker into my face, it would probably be most memorable to the face.
Yes. Yeah. You would be among the first people to know.
To the face that's the victim of the penis thrusting.
Hold on, did it make contact?
I could be blackout drunk. All of us could be blackout drunk last night, right? Not remember anything except it's a little bit fuzzy. And what I would do is work my way backwards from the very memorable event of having a penis shoved in my face. It would be the only thing I would remember.
Yeah.
So when someone says, hold on, this is an international story where we want to get a guy impeached, did he shove his penis into your face? And he's saying, no, didn't happen. I don't think it happened at all.
I don't remember that.
No, but certainly there were other people, and they all remember it, and then they're all, very willing to say that they saw it, and
right.
Wait, secondary witnesses, not even the victim,
and
alleged.
Here's problem number 5. The New York Times and this is why I think it's evil. They completely omitted this. The victim, right, who had no memory of it, wasn't included at all in the New York Times article.
Seriously?
Yeah. So they talk about it as though this happened. They had information from this alleged victim who said, I don't remember it, and that was not in the New York Times. Usually they just bury these details like 10 paragraphs down, right? Because usually they post a lie, then they issue some kind of a correction. This time it was completely omitted. Molly Hemingway has done great work. She's over there at the Federalist. I want to make sure I give her credit. She got a copy of the book from which the article was taken, and she pointed out the glaring omission on Twitter. After that, the New York Times added a correction to the article. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Kamala Harris has already doubled down.
Of course.
This is something that's so... Kamala Harris, she was a prosecutor, correct?
She was.
Okay. So it seems to me she should have a basic
She should understand a little.
A basic grasp of the law. My half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, has not seen this next clip.
No, hold on. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
He has not seen this next clip,
No.
But I want to see what your opinion might be on a prosecutor holding this opinion as Kamala Harris did based on the New York Times article.
The fact that something has not been proven, it doesn't mean it didn't occur, right?
But,
well,
right. Isn't that kind of a prosecutor's job?
Yes.
Imagine that. It's like your argument.
Who knew?
Closing statements. Well, Your Honor, just because there's no evidence doesn't mean
Did you see my tweet,
happen.
though?
The judge would say, wait, are you serious? Are you serious? Your Honor, can you prove me wrong that it didn't not happen? Wait,
What?
I'm very confused. I think
I rest my case.
think that he should be put in prison for the rest of his life.
This prosecutor, she's hilarious.
And this is why I think it's evil. Remember when Brett Kavanaugh he was asked by Cory Booker, I think it was Cory Booker, do you ever drink beer on weekdays, Brett Kavanaugh? You can't even find me a religion.
What does that mean?
You can't find me a religion that
yes.
says you can't drink on weekdays. Now you can find religions where they don't drink at all, but there's no religion that allows you to drink that says not on weekdays. I'm sitting here going, hold on a second. How far around the bend have we've gone from gang rape and chortling, like his Kuzey Hussein, to do you partake in a Schlitz on a Tuesday? What's cheap wing day?
Your Honor.
Rape! Rape!
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is, the damage is already done. This is important. Just like Mattress Girl and UVA, in case you forgot, those are fake too. False rape accusations make it halfway around the world before the truth even has a moment to be heard. And as it stands right now, Kavanaugh's only crime, I will stand right here and say this until there's some kind of emerging evidence, he has done nothing wrong. Not there's a middle ground, not let's have some kind of common shared, no, he's done zero wrong. His only crime is being accused of rape by actual DNC candidates or their lawyers with no evidence.
None.
Nothing else. That's it. Something else that's really telling. Right now, go check Huffington Post. Go check Salon. Go check Daily Kos Today. Go check Media Matters. When the New York Times article ran, they were running this, look, it's going to be a roadblock for Republicans. Brett Kavanaugh, new allegations have come out. Since the correction, go right now. It's not anywhere. If there is someone who is on the Supreme Court who is a gang rapist or even shoved his in some random passersby face, they would have it front page. They know it's not true. And it has been used as the bedrock for their argument for impeachment. And here's something, none of the Democrats demanding Kavanaugh's impeachment, none of them have backtracked either, since it was revealed that the victims' claims didn't take place. None of them have backtracked because they don't have to. The New York Times doesn't want them to. The New York Times wants this embarrassment to go away, so does the DNC. And so they scream rape at the top of their lungs and they move on down the trail to the next lie. It's the exact same strategy they used with Donald Trump, right? The media doesn't want to cover that Russiagate was a lie. The DNC doesn't want to address that it was a lie. And so the media and DNC decide that they are going to move on to the next lie to try and undermine the legitimacy of a sitting president or a Supreme Court justice. And this is why I hate it so much when people say, you know, actually, this SJW, social justice warrior progressive left, is just a fringe portion of the liberal movement. Really? Really? Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, Bernie Sanders, New York Times, NBC, these are all people and institutions who have vocally advocated against the constitutional right of due process or the idea of innocent until proven guilty, as long as the target is a white male they disagree with. So I ask you this, okay, to all the moderate liberals out there, I don't even know what that means anymore. It's an oxymoron like a jumbo shrimp or virgin Madonna. All of you moderate liberals out there, when the fringe is in control of the media and in control of who will have the nomination for your party on a national level, when do you accept that, hey, maybe they're not fringe as it relates to the Democratic Party? You are. Hey there, YouTube viewer, if you like this.
Believe the victim? No thanks. I'll believe the evidence. So if Kavanaugh's accuser had no political agenda, why did she take her complaints to politicians and not law enforcement? Why did she let it slide for 36 years before waiting for a politically opportune moment? If it wasn't political, why was Christine Ford's advisor caught on tape back in July admitting that they had a strategy to defeat the US Supreme Court nominee? If the assault happened, why does the guy that Ford says stopped the assault happening say that it never happened, in addition to another 2 eyewitnesses who also say it never happened? If Kavanaugh is such a sexual predator, why did 65 women sign a letter defending him? And since Ford is a pussy hat wearing, open borders advocating, DNC supporting, anti-Trump hysteric, why is anyone still pretending that this isn't an underhanded political hit job? But every woman has the right to be believed, unless you're molested by Bill Clinton and silenced by Hillary Clinton, unless you're assaulted by Al Franken, or groped by Cory Booker, or sexually and physically abused by Keith Ellison. Isn't it strange how we're only told to believe the victim when she's pointing a finger at a Republican? Odd that, isn't it? Believe all women. Unless it's Kavanaugh's wife who was viciously attacked for defending her husband, yeah, don't believe her. The women named by Kavanaugh's accusers who say it never happened, don't believe them either. Oh, but wait, there's a second accuser, Deborah Ramirez, who claims Kavanaugh pulled out his penis during a drinking game. She admits she has, quote, significant gaps in her memory regarding the encounter. Her best friend admits she, quote, never heard of the incident in question. Ramirez gave the New Yorker 6 names to confirm the story, and all 6 said it never happened. Even the New York Times couldn't find anyone to corroborate the story. Ramirez was willing to blab to the New Yorker, but when it came to giving a congressional statement, she went silent. Yeah, sounds really watertight, doesn't it? No, it's more bullshit, it's more made-up crap to derail Kavanaugh's confirmation. And what about a third accuser? Creepy porn lawyer Michael Avenatti was confident he had one. Salacious tales of Kavanaugh being involved in alcohol-fueled gang rape. The alleged victim, Julie Swetnick, claims that Kavanaugh was present at a party where she was drugged and raped. Why no one else reported this gang of serial rapists who were supposedly terrorizing women remains a mystery. Why the FBI missed it on 6 background checks remains a mystery. And why Swetnick kept attending these gang rape parties after she was victimized remains a mystery. Why her affidavit fails to identify any of the other victims, party guests, or the perpetrators of these gang rapes remains a mystery. How has the resistance reacted to all this? Students at Yale Law School walking out to demand Kavanaugh be guilty until proven innocent. Law students demonstrating against innocent until proven guilty, the very bedrock principle of the entire justice system. Law students. Hashtag believe survivors. No, I'll believe the evidence, of which there is none.
I don't know Homer Simpson. I never met Homer Simpson or had any contact with him, but I'm sorry, I can't go on.
That's okay. Your tears say more than real evidence ever could.
So how is the Me Too movement doing these days? You know, since one of its leading lights got caught being sexually involved with a minor before lying about it and then blaming him. Whatever Me Too started as, it's been hijacked and abused as a political weapon to ruin innocent people's lives. Exactly as I predicted nearly a year ago. The preeminence of innocent until proven guilty is being jettisoned. Now, mere accusation alone is enough to ruin someone's career. Do you understand how dangerous that is? So what is the spineless Republican establishment waiting for? More spurious bullshit accusations? Why are you allowing them to pull the same stunt they tried to pull with Clarence Thomas?
This today is a travesty. I think that it is disgusting. I think something is dreadfully wrong with this country when any person in this free country would be subjected to this.
Stop bending over backwards to appease duplicitous thugs. Newsflash, you have the power. Use it while you still can. End this circus right now. Confirm Kavanaugh.